Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to our masterclass today. I'm just waiting for 5 past, so we have 1 more minute just to warm up a little bit in the space and welcome everyone that has joined us today. So thank you so much. It's great to have everyone here. Hey, Asanda, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you? It's good to be here. I'm excited about this masterclass today.
Me too. Me too. I'm also super excited about it and to have everybody here. It's so nice to be able to connect. So I would like to just urge everyone to use the chat. I want to hear from you. Where are you from? What are you doing? We know that you're part of the Impokoto program, so we'd love to learn more about you. Yeah, so feel free to send us messages, ask us questions, whatever it is that you want to ask. We're open. We're open books. We're happy to to answer any questions that you have. Yeah. So
Use the chat to just also share your comments or your experiences. Would love to hear more of that, especially with the topic that we have today. Yeah.
Yeah, and such an awesome topic. Showing up. Sanda, you started this topic as an introduction to the Mpokodo women in their what is it, the first meeting that we had with everybody and gifts, and you spoke about showing up, and it was like kind of a micro learning thing, and it was so nice to hear your story, and like I'm so excited to actually learn more about showing up and like how you show up in your life and how we can start showing up in our lives as well.
Yeah, it was quite exciting to actually prepare the talk for myself as well, and also for the actual orientation. So it was really exciting to just take everything that's in here and actually put it together in a presentation. Because I've learned the hard way that showing up is actually the single most important thing that you can do for yourself in order to be really successful in life, in every aspect, actually. It can be in a personal and also like a professional aspect of your life. It doesn't just apply in one aspect, it applies in everything. Yeah, yeah. So we're going to dive into that, end. I think.
Yeah, I think we can. Just
Yeah.
before we start, like we really want to hear how you are doing. So I've created a little poll, and the poll is a one-word check-in. So I'm going to launch it, and you guys can choose one word that describes how you are feeling right now. So at Khwela, we always do like these one-word check-ins. And maybe we can do one with each other now, Griselda. I think it's so important to name our feelings and like name how we're feeling before we get started. So yeah, what's your one word? How are you feeling right
Yeah. So as for me, from my side, I can see the poll. It's amazing. I wish I can just choose all of those feelings on there. I see open, curious, and excited. And I think those are the three main ones, but I would go with excited. I felt excited about this whole masterclass.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling the same. I think curious is my word because I'm so curious to hear more about your journey and like just to go deeper into this art of showing up with you and with everyone here today. So yeah, that's my first the first word that comes to my mind. So just a quick one before we get started, I just would like everybody to know Asanda is the co-founder of Khwela Women. So Asanda's come a long way, and I know that she has a lot to share with us. And being a co-founder, I think you have to have a lot of leadership skills, which you do possess, Asanda. And like, I love working with you. I think from the first day I met you, you just had this amazing energy about you, and we connected like immediately. So I just wanted to say that, you know, being a good leader has a lot of different parts to it, and you definitely show up in all those different aspects. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ange. That's a beautiful introduction. Just to also, I would like to introduce you, beautiful Angela. Angela is actually our product manager. She's got the knack for tech and all of that. She's the mother of Alora. She designed Alora, and she's the one that's just behind it, making sure that you're getting all the beautiful content and you getting all those opportunities and all of that. And one thing that I really, really love working with Angela, she's also has beautiful leadership skills as a woman, which is more like empowering towards the entire team. And she's very supportive. She's always there. She's always willing to help if you're stuck with something, especially with tech side of things, and also bringing people together. And she said that, as you said, and when we first met, we connected right away because I felt like there was that kind of commonality or similarities between the two of us, and our energies just wanted to meet. And being around you for me is just like the most amazing thing because I felt so safe and yeah.
Thank you.
Working with you is really beautiful and empowering.
Thank you so much. I feel the same about you. Okay, so let's dive in. Just a quick one. Asanda, what do you think is the first step to showing up? Like what is number one for you?
So, as I've said, that for me, showing up is like one of the single most important thing that any woman can do to be successful, either personal or in the professional life. And showing up is actually one thing that matters the most, is putting yourself out there, even if it's uncomfortable. Like having that need to explore things that you feel like, things that I'm gonna share from my own experience, things that I find to be daunting, but having that neck to say, this is what I want because it's gonna give me this. So I need to actually get up and change my own situation and change my own life. I need to get up and just, see what it has to offer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. So I know that we had shared a theory doc with everybody to your emails, and we had some video resources there that you could take a look at. And I think that we're not going to play it right now, but if you guys do have an opportunity to just go after this masterclass, check out that email, see those video resources on like an introduction to showing up, and hear other women's opinions on showing up as well. I think it's important to take as much information from everywhere as possible, and whatever resonates with you, go with that. So yeah, okay, let's kick off with your first section, Asanda, on being curious.
Sorry, please say it again.
On being curious.
On being curious. But Ange, I kind of have a little bit of a question for you. Before we go into being what curiosity means, just a few questions. When was the last time you didn't show up for something? Do you have like an experience with that? Just to give a little, meat on showing up.
Yeah, I think this is a really great question because I tend to be quite shy. So I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but like in certain aspects of my life, I'm pretty withdrawn. So the one time that I didn't show up for myself was I was really excited to learn more about hula hooping. So I loved hula hoop, and I felt like I was getting stuck and I wasn't learning more, and I decided to join some classes so that I could actually improve my skills. When it came down to the actual day to attend, that self-doubt came in, I don't know anyone there. That internal dialogue was there, and it was like, I don't know anyone there. What if I'm not good enough? I'm so nervous, and that anxiety took over, and I ended up staying at home. And it was such a horrible feeling because it was like I really wanted to do this thing for myself, but I didn't do it because I let that self-doubt creep into my mind, and yeah, it didn't feel good at all.
Amazing. But now you're saying that you had the self-doubt and all of that, you allowed it to creep. And now let's just look at the last time and how you shared how you felt about it. But now let's look at the other side where you actually showed up and how did you feel about that?
Good, that's great. So when I eventually, I think it took me like, the classes were happening every week, right? On a Wednesday. And every Wednesday would come and be like, I'm going. And then after like the third time of me not going and not showing up, I went. And it was so awesome. Like I walked in and I was nervous and my heart was beating fast and I was like, my hands were sweating and I was like super nervous about it. But when I got there, everyone was so welcoming and I learned so much, and the feeling, that high that I got afterwards was just like amazing. When I left there, I was like, I had so much energy. I was like, I felt proud of myself and so proud, so excited, and like just inspired. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like it boosted your confidence as well because you felt proud of yourself. Being able to feel proud of self, that takes a lot of confidence from my side. Okay, so okay, moving on. Oh, we have quite a lot of beautiful people joining Cape Town, Johannesburg, and all of that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on to being curious. So I just want to share with you a little bit about my. I'm gonna. Ange, can you please share for me that?
Sure. Let me just.
I'm showing up. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, most of you have heard about it on my talk with Imbokodo, where I grew up originally from the Eastern Cape, Nkosa and Kutjwanga. Been in Cape Town for such a long time, and I've been using showing up as a tool for such a long time, ever since I moved from the Eastern Cape and moving to Cape Town with like not knowing anyone or knowing exactly why I'm moving up to this new place. So with that being said, and I just want to take you through some few photos or a little bit of my story. As I said, Eastern Cape, the first time I chose to actually, this is me in front of my house after graduating from university. And then I got a text from a friend and she was like, come through. I met her on the beach. She's like, come through, let's go hang out. And the first thing I think Angela touched on it, I was like doubting myself what to expect. Oh my God, what are people going to say? Or what is she going to say? What if I meet different people and they judge me for where I come from and what I look like? But I decided that I needed to be curious about that and take that to myself and say, I want to go and explore, which allowed me to see a totally different world and introduced me to tourism. And that was like how I changed my life. And then next, and then from there, everything shifted. And this is me in a different new space from a very poverty-stricken environment to a person that was really curious about traveling and meeting different people. And that boosted my confidence, as Ange mentioned earlier, to a person that wasn't scared to meet up with groups of different people from different backgrounds and actually being curious about where they come from and what they do for a living and what I can learn from them, which I am actually going to touch on now on being curious. And then in 2018, from just, there's me and my co-founder, Kim. 2018, I did the same thing, moving all the way from the Eastern Cape to Cape Town and having those courageous conversations with the owner. She's the owner of the backpackers that I worked for when I moved here. Only 100 rands in my bank account. I don't know who ever did that before, but I did that. I didn't even know what I was going to do. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to be brave enough to just move forward and find, and fuel up that fire within me. So 2018, we started Khwela with Kim, which also threw me to another level of showing up because opportunities came for us to go to places like Holland to present Khwela. And that was really that I struggled with that because it challenged me to show up again. But we did it and we gained so much money to run our business, which was like almost over 4 million bucks. over 4 million rands. Don't know, I'm using
Awesome.
tax. So what helped me to actually go through all these like life changing experiences was the first one, being curious, which I want to take you through today. As you're going through this journey that you're going to be embarking on, is that choosing to be curious can be scary. But for me, I saw it as a thirst to explore and expand my knowledge and experiences. So, like what I looked at was to actually ask questions to other people, not to reply, but to understand the side of the stories I've mentioned earlier on, that I've touched mostly on understanding how they see the world instead of just replying on how I see the world. And I showed so much interest. And I also enjoy that peer-to-peer learning, hearing other people's experiences. Hence, we run the circles as well, and learning from those experiences, because I feel like there's a lot that I can learn from there. And also unlocking a conversation by asking dumb questions. I think that one is very powerful for me, in a sense that a dumb question sometimes allows me to see beyond. I might think that I understand something, but by asking that dumb question helps me even get more details on what is being presented to me. Yeah, so that's like the first one that's the first insight on being like on being like on showing up. And I kind of have a few questions for you.
Yes, of course. Hit me. I'm ready.
Like I've touched on asking dumb questions and being curious and all of that. I want to hear about you. Like, how do you feel like about asking dumb questions?
Sure. I think in the beginning, when I first started working and being in like around a lot of people who I thought to be more knowledgeable than me, I would kind of hold back from asking dumb questions or why questions, because I didn't want to appear like that I didn't have enough knowledge, or I didn't want to appear dumb. But I think that the more I asked, the more I understood, and I realized the power in asking dumb questions, or those why questions. And now I think I question everything. I've become someone who questions everything, and I want to know why. And by asking myself why, it helps me break things down into smaller bite-sized pieces and makes it more manageable. Because I think if there's any little piece of information missing, especially since I must say, since COVID hit and our team has been working remotely, asking why and having that clear communication is so important, because if one little thing is missing and in the story, then it just generates so much confusion for myself, for the team, for everyone. So having asking dumb questions now, like I kind of enjoy it. I like it. I want to know more. So I think that's part of being curious, is that why. So
I like,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, I like that you have a childlike mind, because at the age, they say at the age between 7 and 9 is children, they ask a lot of the why question. And what I've learned is, like, now as an adult, I get annoyed with a kid that asks a lot of why. But now I also see from your experience share how that helps you understand the world, and how that helps the child as well and understand the world. And it's something that I want to continue adopting, asking why, because it helps with understanding the world, and not, like, for me, not thinking that I know every answer to everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So Asanda, when was the last time you were curious about something? Or like, can you tell us about a time that you were curious about something?
I am curious literally every day. I'm always asking. For example, this morning we have like an accounts meeting, and I'm working on numbers and understanding numbers. But whenever I see that I don't understand something, instead of just sitting there and thinking that I'll just try and figure it out later, I push myself to ask, why do you say that? Why is that number like that? And then at first in my head, I'm like, that's dumb. Everyone looks like they know what they're talking about. You're the only one who doesn't know this. Why can't you know this? Why don't you know an answer? Like, why don't you have an answer? But then I kind of like go and challenge that thinking and say to myself, I will not always know everything. Let me just ask. And then what I find with other people, when I ask them why is something like that, and ask a dumb question, I can see the excitement in their eyes that they were like, it's more like they were waiting to be asked this question. And they're like, oh my God, okay, this is how they break it down. And it's not just a one-way thing, it's a two-way thing, because they're excited about breaking it down to you. And I'm learning so much, because another thing that I've learned is that we learn by sharing more information than actually just like reading everything, but the more we share it with others. That's why I said peer-to-peer learning. The more that we share something that we learn, the more that we take it in. It doesn't mean that we lose that information, but it means that we get to understand it more.
That's awesome. I launched a poll a few minutes ago just to see like how everyone in the room feels about asking these dumb or these why questions. And it was actually amazing to see, because 67% have said that they like asking as many dumb questions as possible to understand. And then we have 20% that felt like me in the beginning, which was like feeling anxious about asking these questions. And also like a few 7% saying, I won't ask a dumb question because I don't want to appear dumb. And then 7% have said, when I ask a dumb question, it doesn't mean that I'm dumb. So I think that that's something that's quite interesting to just touch on, like our intelligence that isn't like based around the questions that we're asking, because I think that that's quite a big one. You know, when I ask a dumb question, it doesn't mean that I am dumb. So yeah. I think that's awesome. So thank you so much to everybody who has answered that poll. I would also just like to ask everyone, if you have a little notebook, write down in your notebook, and also maybe write down in the chat something that you have been curious about lately. And when you're reflecting on it, if you can't think of something that you've been curious about in the last 30 days, I want to challenge you to be curious about something new and ask as many questions as possible. When you do that, then spend some time reflecting, write it down, and actually journal it so that you can go back and see your experience as a whole. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big thing. That's one thing that I've learned recently. It can be the smallest thing ever that you're curious about. Because one thing I've learned is that I'm always wanting to be curious about big things, but I've learned that starting small is also okay, and it helps you build that momentum.
Totally. Have to 100% agree. So, Asanda, why is being brave such an important part of showing up?
Bravery is like something that, as I've saying now, sharing on my story, is something that I struggled with such a long time. But with learning, as I've mentioned, like with learning that it actually helps me explore even further and expand my experiences. It's just a beautiful way of finding that passion that you have. So for me, it's like bravery means to just seek knowledge, courage, and also have that confidence in uncertain times. And it helped me see, like, actually understand that the world would never be in a state where everything is just so clear and, and smooth. The world will always be like changing, and there will be times where I'm not certain. But if I trust my own self, that I will be able to get to the other side. For example, I mentioned that coming to Cape Town with only 100 rands in my bank account for a job offer. So I actually didn't know what to expect and how things will turn out to be. But I had confidence in that uncertain time, in that so not clear time, that I will get to the other side, and that I have that desire to gain knowledge from this. And that knowledge will not only change my life, but it will help also like with my confidence. So being brave for me, it starts Like they say, what they say is charity begins at home. So it starts with my own self-talk. I become brave by the way that I speak to myself. So how I speak to myself is like one of the things that I have the courage to, like, I don't know how to put it, but I always challenge myself with how I speak to myself. Which is like, even like at times, even today, I'm in my apartment alone. So whenever I find myself speaking to myself negatively, I say it out loud and hush myself and say, if I feel like I'm not good enough, I say to myself out loud, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough to tackle any task that I have at hand. And this is a like super major impact in my life. And also, one thing that has helped me become even more brave when I'm about to tackle a task or a situation or go through like an experience is not just focusing in the now, but I focus on what would my future self say about this situation in 10 years, for example. When I look back at it, what will my future self most remember about today? Will it remember that I was brave, or will it remember that I chickened out? But I always choose bravery, because being brave builds so much confidence. Also reflect on what my future self, what advice would I get for my future self if I was to just now look to the future self and say what piece of advice, and actually offer myself that piece of advice. Bravery means.
I love that. I love that whole future self concept, because I think we have some really fun assignments for all of our Impokoto women, and one of the assignments actually that you will be given after this masterclass is to write a letter to your future self, or your future self writing a letter to you now. And I think that is such an amazing thing, because that's power of visualizing yourself in the future, and visualizing those obstacles that you've overcome can give you that bravery that you need. Like in my experience earlier that I shared, when I had that negative self-talk, the self-doubt creeping in, even though it was something I really wanted to do for me, thinking about the knowledge and the stuff that I was going to learn, and imagining how I could progress in my art form that I was trying to progress in, was enough to give me that bravery to show up. And I think that little bite of bravery like goes such a long way. Even like there's that Brene Brown quote that says, "Do it afraid," and I love that. Doing it afraid and being brave is just so amazing.
Yeah.
There was also something that I heard the other day that I wanted to share with you, and it was a mindfulness coach, and he was talking about how some of the things that are good for you don't feel good before you do them. They take effort before you do them, but then after you do them, you feel amazing. So the example that he used was, it's like exercise. You know, like before you go exercise, it's like, I don't really want to go and I'm feeling lazy. And it's difficult to find that motivation to do it, especially in the beginning. And but then after you've exercised, feel amazing, feel so great. It's also like eating a pizza. It's easy to do, right? It's quick, it's easy, it's convenient. Afterwards, you feel a bit like frumpy and like a bit lethargic. And like when that salad may have not been a good idea beforehand, may have not felt nice before you ate it, but after you ate it, you felt great. So just finding that motivation, and sometimes things that are good for you are difficult. Things that are bad for us can seem indulgent and easy. So yeah.
I like that example, Ange, of food. It's also like, for me, it's waking up in the morning, it's really tough. But once I wake up at 6, around 1, I'm so happy that even though it was so hard to wake up, but around 1, I'm so happy that I did that and I was able to go for a run or whatever, as difficult as it was, but the benefits are always better. But if I wake up at 8 and then I'm like dragging myself around 1 and I'm like, oh, why didn't I wake up earlier and all of that? So as you're saying that the convenient and easy stuff to do, they always has, not so nice benefits, but the hard stuff to do always has like great benefits to it.
Pays off. It does. It pays off. And I think like the proof is in that end result and in that future self that you spoke about, like I often will do something at home and I'll be preparing for something for later and my partner will ask me what I'm doing and I'm like, I'm just planning for my future self. My future self is going to thank me for this. And I love that. Just keeping that future self in mind.
So like what I would like to encourage everyone now is to write 2 things in the chat. Just share it with us and the rest of the women that are on this webinar. 2 things that you've been wanting to do. That you did, but you didn't feel brave enough to do. Just drop them in the chat box. The chat box. I'm so used to Alora. I would like to really hear from you, those 2 things. And this is also a time for you to be brave and just put those 2 things out there. That's another skill that I've learned, that the moment I write something down, it's easier for it to actually come alive.
That's so true. Hey, like giving that power to it or removing the power that it has or that hold that it has over you when we name something. It's incredible when we write down goals and things like that, how easy it is to achieve them after we've taken that first step of putting words to it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what's something that you've been wanting to do that you haven't felt brave enough, Asanda?
Oh, 2 things that I've been wanting to do that I haven't felt brave to do. This is one of them, actually. This webinar, even the talk that I did with Imbogodo, it's something that I always wanted to do, but I didn't feel brave enough because I always thought to myself, what will people say, especially about my life story, like how I grew up and where I come from. That has been something I've been shameful of, not brave enough to share. But now that I've done that, I have one last one that I want to do, is to actually, I'm working towards that. I want to be one day on TED Talk. So this is, yeah, but I've been putting on the application and all of that, but I still feel not so brave.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you want to do a TED Talk because I can just picture it. Actually, I'm imagining your future self right now, and you're killing it. Just like you're killing this webinar.
Please share that with me. Please share that imagination that you have.
I will. I see you in like this red dress, like a power dress, like up there speaking, and yeah, I can visualize it.
Oh,
okay, cool. Let's see what some of the women are saying in the chat. So the first is to start a farming business and go into teaching full time. That's really awesome.
Wow.
Being able to monetize my hobbies and interests. Yes, start that hustle. Asking more questions to get clarity and motivate young women. Yes, I love that. That's awesome. So yeah, write this down in your books, ladies. Write this down in your books and speak more into it. Write as much detail as you can about the thing that you haven't been brave enough to do, or something that you want to do. I find the more detail we put into it, the more we can start breaking it down, and it's really great. We've got another one. Learning to overcome my fear of driving. I crashed my sister's car and I've never attempted to drive again, and that was in 2013. Oof, this hits home so deeply for me because this is something that I have been wanting to overcome for a long time. I have such a fear of driving. I was in a really bad car accident a few years ago. But even before that, I was just so scared of it. And it's something that's been on my list for such a long time. And I always put it off, put it off, put it off. But it is something that I want to start doing before the end of this year. So that's, Princess, I am 100% with you. And if you want, we can become accountability buddies, and you can check up on me and see if I've started driving, and I can check up on you and see if you have started as well.
Please add me to that accountability group, because I haven't gotten my learners yet. It's actually the second thing. I've been putting it off because I felt like, oh.
I'm making a note of this. Who else wants to be added to this
ready.
driving group? Oh my goodness.
We have Lise there. She wants to open an aftercare center, starting her own business that is education based. Wow, that's amazing. We need more of beautiful, different education systems in South Africa. Become a licensed driver and get liquor wholesaler distribution. Wow. Yes, I think like we can do this. All of us can actually do this. Just adopt being brave. Always do my research and everything, following through with my business ideas. I always do my research and everything, but I need to get over the fear of rejection. Now, lady, you're not alone. You're not alone. It's something that I also deal with a lot. And I think most women as well.
Totally. I think that fear of failure, that fear of rejection, they're so linked. Like, wow. And I think it's something that all of us deal with. I haven't actually spoken to one person that is not afraid of rejection or failure, at least at some point in their lives. They've dealt with that, like, or are busy dealing with it. So, yeah.
Maybe we should have a master class on it.
We should definitely, yeah. I agree. We really should. We can share some really good tips about how to overcome that fear of rejection and failure. I remember when I was younger, I was so afraid to fail that I wouldn't even like participate in like board games or card games because I was so scared of coming last. These perfectionist tendencies were like instilled in me from such a very young age, where I was only really given like credit for something if I did really well with something. So I thought I had to be perfect all the time. And that started to create these dynamics in my mind that I could never fail. Otherwise, my self-worth was attached to it. It was deep, man. I've been through a lot of that mind stuff, but getting over it.
But I can relate to that as well. Yeah. Yeah, and then Zita, she's shared that two things she wants to do is overcoming fear of public speaking. You're not alone there. That's where I'm like at as well. Have confidence and believing in myself. Yeah. That's
public speaking. Sure.
Yeah. Hitting home. But like that's another thing that I've learned from the circles as well, like the belief in myself and the confidence. I've gotten my confidence ever since October last year when we started. I've gotten my confidence boosted through the circles. Having my circle really helped me, like having other women that are actually dealing with these kind of issues helped me also see that I'm not alone in the world. So it's been like amazing for me to be like part of that. I don't think I would be even doing this today if I wasn't part of the circle, really.
I have to agree. The circles have really impacted my life in that way too. I'm so much more confident to speak and to tell people what I need, speak about difficult things, have difficult conversations. Like the circles have really improved my life in such a crazy way as well. And I'm really excited for our circles to kick off with everyone here as well. You will be receiving a message either later today or tomorrow adding you to your circle. Okay, we got another one here. Starting my own business, having my own cafe or bakery, and leading up to my own restaurant. Fear of failure has disturbed my mind frame, but I'm overcoming that day by day. Unlearning, I love that word. I love that word of unlearning. Just we've been conditioned with so many things, and like I said earlier, like the way that I was brought up made me feel like I had to be perfect, and that's the process of unlearning that and going backwards and saying, like, where does this come from? How do I recognize these triggers? And yeah, moving on. Okay, let's move on to the next stage. I would love to still see everybody's, if you still have more things you want to share about being brave, please do. And let's move on to taking ownership.
Amazing. Oh, okay. So taking ownership, for me, this is the toughest one. As much as brave is one, but taking ownership is such a huge thing that sometimes I feel like calling my mom and say, hey, this is what I want. Can you please do it? But one biggest learning is that it brings a lot of confidence when I do things for myself. It helps me realize my own power to turn things around. And also, like, there's so much of the generational cycles that, you know, especially as African women, that we have to deal with, where everything is done the same way, that I feel like I cannot change certain things or take ownership of how I want to live my life. But by taking that, like, ownership and saying, you know, this is how I see my life, this is the image that I have of my life, so I need to actually get up and not expect someone else to take that ownership. And I do that by starting with the woman in the mirror. So that woman is me. And I used to have these excuses. They don't allow me to take the stage. For example, at work or at home, if I want to do something at work, in my old job, I'll be like, my boss doesn't allow me to take stage. But I do have the power to take full ownership of what I feel like is beneficial to me or to even the, you know, the clients or guests. But now I always ask myself, what is my role in this? What can I do? Like, what is it I can do? What is it that I have power of, like, that I can actually exercise that power? What can I learn from this? Because now we've spoken about unlearning things that we've learned. So learning is like a powerful part of taking ownership, going into that with the mindset of saying, what can I learn from this? So these are pushed, like, these kind of questions, they push me to take ownership of what I really want and what I can do to get it. Find those my own solutions without having to phone my mom and say, this is what I'm going through, please tell me what to do. But it helps me find my own solutions and also realize the power that I have. I think, Angie, you said something earlier on about feeling so proud of yourself. That for me, feeling proud of myself helps me to, like, realize that I have a power. Oh my God, I didn't know that I can do this. I was into red, but by taking ownership, I'm bringing that awareness to myself that I can actually change things around without having a savior to come and help me in that space. And also, like, holding myself accountable. Holding us, like, as I was saying, there's like an example. And I'll just, like, when I'm done with this example, I'd like to hear more what you think of it. An example a friend that gave to me, where they say taking ownership is more of eating the cake and actually going to the gym, but not eating the cake and expecting someone else to become fat from eating that cake. But it's eating your cake and actually going to go and work out, because whatever you take ownership of or you hold yourself accountable of, it's how do I even put, my dad used to say action and consequences. So whatever you hold yourself accountable for, whatever consequences that come, you still need to hold yourself accountable for those consequences. No one else is going to take that for you. And then being comfortable, being uncomfortable. This one is, like, also something that we've touched on about things that you want to be brave about. It's uncomfortable. Starting a business is uncomfortable. But taking that first step and doing what scares you the most is the most beautiful thing. Yes, first time you try something new, you will likely fall a few times. But reminding yourself that it's really, like, it's okay to fall is powerful. And one thing that I've learned in my journey is that, especially from family and friends, they'll tell me that you cannot fail if you want to succeed in life. Trust me, that's not true. I've learned now with Khwela is that we fail, we learn, and then we practice again. And that's helping us grow as a company. But if we're just like saying we want to succeed all the time, then we're not going to grow in anything that we do, because we're not embracing that. Yeah, so Ange, I just want to ask you, can you please tell me about a time that you took ownership in a difficult situation? Yeah.
Wow, okay, so many times. I think that I have learned to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, but it took a long time for me to get there. Like I said earlier, like the perfectionist tendencies, people-pleasing tendencies that I see in myself and I can recognize in myself now, was a lot difficult to deal with when I was younger. I'm going to go all the way back here now. Hey, like I'm going all the way back to when I was like 16. So this was a defining moment for me, and that's why I'm going to share it with you. I used to, when I was 16, I started waitressing, and I really needed to make extra money to support myself, and so I started working really young. And when I first started working or waitressing, I didn't have like all that life skills knowledge quite yet, and it was difficult to take ownership of things. So I was serving this one table, and if anyone's ever worked in the food and beverage industry, they'll know that this type of thing happens a lot, where I made a mistake on a guest's order, and I brought the wrong food to the table. And when he said to me like, "Oh, this isn't what I ordered," I was like, "Oh shit, okay." And I felt my heart sink a little bit, like, because I knew immediately that I had made a mistake. So I was like, "Oh, I'm very sorry, let me see what happened." And I took the plate away, and I was so nervous to like own up for this mistake that I had made. Being young, and I'm not proud of it still to this day, I blamed my mistake on kitchen staff. And I went back to the table and I said to him, "I'm sorry, the kitchen made a mistake and your food will be out soon." And I think he knew that I was lying. My face isn't a face that lies very easily. Even though my words are lying, my face doesn't lie. So yeah, anyway, so I told him that the kitchen staff made a mistake, which was so unfair. The kitchen staff found out that I had blamed them for something that I had done, which ruined my relationship with them as well. They didn't want to help me out for anything that happened after that, even when like any mistakes that I made. So eventually brought his food out. He short paid the bill. I didn't get a tip. And I just sat with like a horrible feeling. I felt really guilty about blaming someone else for something that I had done. Fast forward a little bit, and that was working at the same restaurant. Another table came in, and it was a few months later, and I forgot to place someone's order. I forgot to put it through. And I took everyone else's food out to the table, and this guy was sitting there without his meal. And I went and I was like, "Sorry," like, he was like, "Where's my food?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, let me go look." And I looked in my notepad and I forgot to put his meal through. So I had a choice here. The choice was to do what I did last time and feel really awful about it, or take ownership and be honest about this mistake that I had made. So I went up to him and I said to him, "I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot to put your order through. I've asked the kitchen if they can make it quickly. I'm really sorry about this. Like, I'll take ownership. I'll pay for your meal." And he looked at me, and the most unexpected thing happened. I thought that he was going to shout at me, he was going to be upset. And he was like, "That's okay. I understand that mistakes happen. Thank you so much for being honest with me." And that was such a big lesson for me, because it showed me that when I'm honest with myself, when I'm honest with others, and I take ownership of my mistakes, that the world isn't going to end. Like, my world's not going to end, his world's not going to end. And that was a really defining moment for me when it came to the lesson in ownership.
Wow, that's a beautiful life experience, and so thank you for sharing that. And I've learned so much from just that story, especially about being honest to yourself. Because as we said in the beginning, that it all starts with the woman in the mirror, and that's what you practice. We have actually a question from Khwela. Can you treat ownership as discipline? Can you say, and that you taking ownership was that you being disciplined?
I think in a way, yes, because I had to be honest with myself and discipline myself in a way where when I didn't take ownership, I was very much aware of it. And I was quite hard on myself about it. And that way it did make me think that I didn't want to feel that way again. So I guess, yes, I guess you could treat it as discipline. And keeping that negative experience in my mind made me want to change that experience and not have to relive it another time.
Yeah, I'll totally also say it's the same as this, like as discipline, because it's not something you practice once and you stop. You continue practicing it in every part of your life. So it is about being disciplined.
And yeah, absolutely. And I really love that whole thing that you mentioned earlier about like looking at what's within your control, what is not within your control, and taking ownership and accountability for those things that are within your control. When we share this webinar recording with you all tomorrow, there will also be a document that you can download that's actually a whole lesson about the circle of concern and the circle of control. And it's so interesting. And yeah, so if you want to learn more about that, we are going to be sending you more resources on it. Yeah. Okay, we need to skip over and let's do a little visualization, Asanda.
Okay, so now we're coming to the visualization side. So this just like based on you as a person and the actual journey that you're going on. For a few seconds, I just want you to visualize, because it's 12 months of this course that you're on in the transformational journey with Khwela and the circles. But now I just want you to take you to your future self. Visualize a day where you actually just close your eyes and sit up straight wherever you are, and just visualize a day where you're no longer worried about your salary, like it will come through at the end of the month, because you've learned about savings from the finance course that you're going to be on. I just want you to just forget about everything else that's happening and focus in the future when you're done with this 12-month course, about having those savings. And while you're at it, I want you to also picture a day and just also picture how you'll be feeling that day when you really have those savings. Just focus on the feeling that you have, that you no longer have to be worried about money coming in. And just sit with that feeling and how it feels. Okay. Now that you see your future when it comes to finances, I want you to picture a day where you feel confident leading a team of people, because you've learned from the workplace relationships course from your 12-month course, or even from the master classes with Khwela. Seeing yourself as this confident woman who's able to run that business, lead a team of people, start your school, start your cafe, get that liquor license and run that business, whichever way that you want to be, leading a group of people. Just focus on how that feels. seeing that future self. You can even draw, if you need to draw her in your mind, which I always do, what she's wearing and all of that. Okay, maybe for you it's also different. I want to focus also on you picturing yourself when you can take your kids on a little holiday if you're like more into adventure, because you're an independent woman now. As the small kids or big kids or family, you're all able to go on a holiday. Or you even saved up enough money to buy that house for your parents that they've been asking you for, or you've been dreaming of buying them that house. And just to close off this visualization, I want you to take it back. As soon as we're done here, to take it back to your journals or whatever that you use, digital journals or the original ones, and actually jot down what you see when it comes to maybe your finances or whichever one that you relate to, confidence, leading a team or that family, just to put it down and put it into a nicer picture that you can always go back to. As Angela mentioned earlier on, that writing a letter to your future self. I would say write that letter, keep it somewhere, or even on your wall where you can read it, or in your wallet, and you can read it every morning to remind yourself of where you want to see yourself one day. And another thing that I love to do is, you know that your courses now, what they look like. I always write my percentages of where I am and where I want to be. If I want to get, I think I'm only understanding 10% of it, but I want to get 80%, I write it down so that it makes it so clear for me as I'm going through the whole process. And there is actually a slide here that I was going to show with the Wheel of Life.
This one.
Yes. So yeah, so that's what I was mentioning. Now you can just write down your business, career, studies, your finance, your health from a 0 to a 10, where you are currently and where you want to be. And then you can review this as you go, even after the 12 months, to see whether you've reached your goal of a 10 from a 2 in each and every aspect of your life.
I love this. I love how it has everything from health to fitness to self-image and spiritual. It just shows me and reminds me that being a leader isn't just in the work sense or in your career. It's in so many different aspects of our lives, and having that all come together is the magic spice, the awesome sauce that we need. You know, the balance between everything.
Yeah. So this is just one of the practical steps that I would like to leave you with today. Is to do this exercise and have it somewhere. And then the second one is to take ownership of your own routine. Ask yourself what I can do differently today from yesterday. One of the things that I always do is comparing myself to the person I was yesterday. So you can always review on how you can do things differently with your routine. If I feel like my routine isn't working, I change it because I have the power. And also choose how you react to situations. Ask yourselves questions such as, is this worth my energy and time? I find that to be really powerful because it helps me choose what I have control over. As you can see, you will see on that document, what I have control over and what I don't have control over. And if I don't have control over something, then it means that I need to focus on what I have control over. So something to look at. Break down tasks into smaller tasks and be gentle with yourself in the process. It's easy for me to be gentle with someone else, but now it's time that I need to be able to break everything down and say, I'm going to be gentle with myself. I'm not going to be hard on myself, because I learned that being hard on myself doesn't actually help me achieve anything, but it makes me become really overwhelmed. And one of the last ones is, I always set myself, because I get distracted easily, I always set myself a timer and stick to it. Put it somewhere, put it on my phone and have it running there and say 1 hour, no distractions, no notifications, no social media. I'm just going to focus on getting this done. And then when it's done, I reward myself with 10 minutes. Go for a walk, eat something, listen to my favorite song and dance, sing, which I don't know how to do, but I always do it because it's a nice reward. But yeah, that's all I can. If you have any other practical steps, you can share them on the chat with everyone that you feel like would help, that you have been like that would help us as well and to help other women on this call. And do you have any other practical steps that you would like?
I think you've covered like all the big ones for me here, and I really love this breaking down big tasks into smaller tasks, because if we look only at the end result, like I find that I get so overwhelmed if I look at the end result of something that needs to be done. And then I get analysis paralysis, where I won't even start it because it seems so overwhelming. So then in that state, then that negative self-talk comes in, and I struggle to show up for myself. It affects my bravery and all those things that now we've mentioned and touched on in this. And but when I break it down into smaller tasks, it's so much more manageable, and it's not so overwhelming. And it's like, oh yeah, I can do that small thing, whether it's an hour of exercise a week when I haven't been exercising for an hour at all a week, you know, that type of thing. So I really love that. And setting that timer and sticking to it is something I've also started doing lately, and seen such amazing results from it. Yeah, I really love these steps. Thank you so much for sharing these with us.
Also, like, I just want to, before we do anything, I just want to encourage everyone that's on this call. Like you are like, I'm one of the believers that you were chosen to be part of this journey. And the only thing that you need to start doing now is to show up for the master classes that we host, because I believe that they will add so much to your journey that you're on. And then show up to the circles as well, because you'll be in circles with everyone that's attending that 12-month course. So you're not going to be exposed to different people that are not on a different journey, but people that are on this journey, and actually share your experiences and learn so much from each other. Maybe one challenge for another person, the other person has already dealt with that, and they can share that experience, and you can grow through that. And also show up for your gifts learning days. Submit your assignments and all of that on time. Also remember, we are here. So if you need anything, have questions, you need support in any way, don't fear anything to just reach out and say, "Hala, Asanda, this is what I need help with," or "Hala, Angela, Griselda, Nelly." We have a big team. We also have two of our new team members that joined us, Takira and Slindy. You'll be introduced to them, but we will always be here to support you in every way possible.
And I think that's such an important thing that you just touched on now with the circles, is the circles that you're all going to be attending. It's once a month, it's 2 hours. And in those 2 hours, we really get to unpack stuff. And we end up creating this bond and the support system with each other as well. And having sisters or a sisterhood is so important. And I never realized how important it was until I joined circles myself. So I'm really excited to go on this journey with all of you. And we're on it already. We're here. We've started. This is the first step, showing up for yourself, showing up for others, showing up in your life so that you can improve your situation. Yeah. Thank you so much, Asanda, and thank you everybody for joining. Yeah, like we said, if you do have questions, you can always reach out to us. Tomorrow I will be sending this recording to you, and there is also a couple of fun assignments we have that there'll be a link on how to submit your assignment, writing that letter to your future self, and another 1 or 2 really exciting ones, and additional resources. So that will come to you in an email tomorrow. And yeah, I hope that you all learned something today. Awesome. Great. So I see that everyone's shifted from curious in the beginning of this session, to open and confident and connected. Love, love, love that.
Amazing.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And we'll be sending out our next masterclass next month. The next one is on growth mindset, I think.
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah. I had to question myself there for a second, but yes, it is. But
Yes.
we'll see you next time.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Have a great one.
Bye.